Welcome to Huntley 158 Today.
How are you today, Jessica?
I'm super fantastic, Dr. Berkey. How about you?
I'm very good, and I think we're having a great school year so far. It's just been great to see all the students back at school and all the teachers and everybody, and I think it's been a great start. So
I would agree.
Our guest today is Dan Armstrong, who is our Director of Communications and Public Engagement. Welcome, Dan.
Thank you.
Dr. Berkey, it's so amazing to see how communication has changed over the years that we've been.
Yeah, I think there's been radical changes.
Oh, absolutely. And just 2 years ago, we started this position in District 158 and have really seen enhancements in the things that we're able to communicate, and not just pushing out information, but also bringing in information and utilizing that here in the district. Dan, why don't you tell us a little bit about your professional background?
Sure. I started out as a journalist, actually working in newspapers before I transitioned into PR, but I still have that storytelling, core to me. So I love writing, I love telling stories through video, and all the different tools that are available to us in the communications field today. So I really love the work I'm doing here at Huntley. So much of what I do, or what I've tried to do when I came into this new position, was, like Jessica mentioned, not just pushing out our story and the information we want people to know about us, but actually listening to our community, listening to our parents, also the community members who aren't directly connected to the school, and finding out what they want from the district and what they want to hear from the district. And so that's been a big part of the early stages of this job.
Could you tell us a little bit about how media has changed? Because I think even 10 years ago, most people got their information from the newspaper, whether it was a hard copy or it was online 10 years ago. But I'm not sure people are getting their information even from traditional media as much anymore. Can you talk a little bit about what you've seen change since you've been in the media field and now in the public side?
Absolutely. Like I said, I was trained as a journalist, and I graduated from college in 2008. And even at that point, not that long ago, I like to think, most of my training and classes were in print newspaper production and print newspaper journalism. So the changes, even just in my professional career, have been profound. So much of what we're able to do today that is a huge advantage over that old newspaper system is rich content that we can produce ourselves, and we can speak directly to our community. We don't have to now filter it through that intermediary of the traditional media. Now, we still really appreciate that avenue for communicating with our public, and we love telling our story through newspapers, television, radio, online media. We still, have placed a lot of priority on that. So we really appreciate that. But like I said, we can really engage directly with our families. We can engage directly with students through a variety of tools.
Dan, usually we see you with a camera in tow and your phone in the other hand. What does a day in the life of Dan look like from day to day?
A typical day for me is hard to define. I could be doing anything from setting up a film shoot with our partners, getting out into a classroom, doing video, taking pictures, talking to teachers and students about the cool things that we're doing. I might be working with a newspaper reporter who's writing a story about us, or a TV reporter or a radio reporter. Part of the job that you don't like to think about as much, but is very important, is crisis communications. So I'm very involved with that. There's a lot of planning that goes into that, working with our chief security officer, working with our principals, and all of our staff, really, to make sure that we're prepared and able to communicate in the event of an emergency. That's a huge, huge part of the job. And like I said, it's not a fun one to think about. I'd much rather be out in the classroom talking with students, telling the great stories of Huntley 158, but it is a big part of the job, and it's an important part of the job.
One of the really good parts of the job, which you mentioned earlier, was when we've had groups come into our schools. And one specific one was we had a group of Del Webb's residents come into the high school last year. Can you talk a little bit about how that came about and what they saw on the tour?
So there's a social club out at Sun City. Their civic group contacted us. They were very interested in seeing firsthand a lot of the renovations and construction that has gone on out here at Huntley High School over the past couple of years. So luckily, our high school principal, Scott Rowe, was gracious enough to help us put together a group of tour guides, students who are actually here every day learning, using these facilities, as well as some teachers who are out here every day, actually tell the story of what it's like day to day out here, why these renovations and improvements are really making a big difference to their learning and their teaching, and the response to it was absolutely fantastic. It also helps when we're able to tell groups like that, especially residents like those in Sun City who don't have students directly in the district but are supporting us financially through their tax dollars, we're able to present to them that the construction was done fully funded through a state grant, not using local tax dollars.
And you do some great work getting all the things out from first day of school to the activities going on into the classroom. But I know one of the big pushes you have is to take some of these learning programs and these things that we're on that cutting edge and kind of in the forefront of with our one-to-one and other technology aspects that we do here in the district, and can get those more on that state and national level. And why is that a passion or an interest of yours?
Yeah, absolutely. So my key audience is always parents, guardians, community members, the local community. We always want to keep them informed, as well as our staff. That's our first line of ambassadors. That's our first audience. We always want to make sure they're informed. But I have spent a lot of time focusing on telling those stories about our pioneering blended learning program, which is the biggest in the state. It's the most successful. Our one-to-one learning, that's every student gets a device. We finalized that rollout with completing full implementation here at the high school. So we're now the largest K-12 district in Illinois to be fully one-to-one with every student getting a device. These are great stories that need to be told, not just in the local community, but at the state level and at the national level. Anything that we can do to build the reputation of this district as a destination school district is going to set a foundation that's going to help us advance ourselves in other ways down the line.
Well, and Dan mentioned video, but to elaborate even more, this very show we're doing is something that Dan helped set up as just another tool of a way we can communicate with our community. And we're going to be looking to not only do this show, but to embed more video of things going on in the district into our social media.
Just one more great opportunity for us to get that information out. Dan, you've talked about our Facebook page, we've talked about Twitter and all those kinds of things, but as a parent, what are some things I know where to go to get that information? What are some opportunities that I have to give more information or give feedback to the school district? How do you envision getting that information from our families?
I love getting feedback from our community, good, bad, or otherwise. Really, honestly, we want to hear what people are thinking. We want to know what people want to know about the district, what they don't know about the district. We want their feedback on how I'm communicating. How can we communicate better with them? There are several ways they can do that. We'll take feedback directly from parents through any of our social media channels, Facebook and Twitter being the primary ones. If you message us or post a comment through either of those channels, we're going to see it quickly and we're going to try to get back to you. There are contact us forms on the website. Just fill in your basic information there with your question, and that'll go directly to the correct person for a response. They can always call me. They can call the main desk. They can call their principal. I've tried to set up a strong internal network of informants for me throughout the district. Anytime anybody gets a question or feedback that I can be helpful in answering, I want that to come directly to me.
Well, Dan, I really want to thank you for being our guest today, and it's very clear that you are working with all of us to try to make sure we're getting information out to our public, because we are a public entity and they need to know what's going on in our entity, but also that we're getting feedback from our public, because our goal is to always be continuously improving to be a better school district. So
That's
thank you,
very
Dan.
evident. You're very passionate about your job, so thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.
And thank you for joining us at Huntley 158 today. We welcome your feedback and your questions. If you have topics that you'd like to see or questions you'd like answered, please reach out to us at our District 158 Facebook page or Twitter, #Ask158.